I was given this dresser for free. The overall structure is actually in really good condition. It's just in a bad need of a deep cleaning. Anytime you want to upcycle furnishings or create a new finish for it, one of the best things you can do is clean it really well. You don't need any fancy products. All you need is a good degreasing dish soap, or you could even use an oven cleaner. What was interesting about this dresser, I was able to clean underneath, and I was able to actually get behind this dresser from underneath, but I cannot remove the actual drawers as there's no latch from behind or in the track. Most importantly is to work with what you can, and there's always a way to get around and still be able to clean it out really well. But I found it very interesting, as most of the time you can actually take the drawers out. The inside of the drawers were in very good condition, and again, it just took me a few buckets with some soap to clean this really well. Now after 3 buckets, I'm now still going to go back, remove the hardware, clean that off as well with dish soap, and give this a really good scour pad scrub. Then I want to actually scuff the surface. Once I've gotten all the hardware off, what I'm going to do is actually give the entire piece a good sand. So I'm just going to use a sanding disc with a sanding block and just give everything a good scuff before I continue on with the makeover. I love using glaze. Glaze gives so many beautiful, fun textures. I'm just going to use a straight up chalk paint in a chocolate brown. So what I want to do with my base coat is I want to create a texture. So I'm going to use a lot of random brush strokes and a lot of short random brush strokes, and you'll see as we continue into the project. For overall really good coverage, I do recommend 2 full coats, and I will do 2 full coats in the chocolate brown. But the foundation of what I want to do is create an actual texture. The texture will help me with the faux finish and the glaze I'm going to apply next. The base coat will only be an undertone to the overall finish that I want to achieve. Now, because I can't remove the drawers without disassembling the entire piece, I'm just going to use an artist brush to go around to the base frame all the way around the drawers. I always recommend 2 full coats for really good coverage in any paint that you choose to use. Once everything is completely dry, then we can start into the next phase. Tintable glaze is perfect to work with any style paint that you want. So what I'd like to do is make my own custom color mix. So with the acrylic paint, I'm going to use the black and white to make a very light gray. I'm going to use 2 parts glaze to 1 part paint and mix it all together. And I only have about 250 milliliters of actual paint for this entire dresser. When working with the glaze mix, you'll want to work with a lint-free cloth. In this case, I'm using shop towels. The main thing I like to do is make sure that my shop towels are actually moist, because I do not want to absorb the glaze. I want to use the towel as a texture. So just like my base coat, I'm going to put the glaze on in every which way, creating random texture. Then I'm going to use a moist towel to create even more texture just with the imprint of the shop towel. It's actually the high point of summer right now, so in my particular situation, it is actually really warm. So my window of time and working time is being altered by the weather a little bit. So this is where I recommend having a spray water bottle on hand, and you can moisten your glaze anytime you need to help move it around. I like working with decorative glaze versus paint washes because I find that the overall finish is much more defined. But I also find that it's a lot easier to work with. It's not as drippy. I find that I can actually maneuver the paint glaze where I want and leave a really nice impression print with my moist towels. and I love the overall rag look. So essentially what I'm doing right now is ragging off. That would be the term. So I'm applying the glaze and I'm taking the moist towel and I'm actually kind of removing off excess glaze, leaving a really fun textured print. The decorative glaze is compatible with almost all paints, so you can just use whatever paints you already have on hand. So I use the acrylic, and this way you can also make your own custom color mixes. I definitely have a lot more control with the paint and decorative glaze mix versus a paint wash. It's the viscosity in which I can work with it, and it's not as drippy and it's easy to clean up. It has similar components to a paint wash, but again, I find the overall design and the overall decorative look to be more defined versus a paint wash. So there's two ways of doing this type of technique, and right now I'm showing you the ragging it off. So again, I'm using that moist towel and I'm going around and I'm kind of removing, leaving an impression print with the moist towel. But the other way that you can do this is by ragging on, and I'll show you that in just a second. I really like to change the overall imprint of the rag by moving it around. So sometimes I'll just open it up and kind of re-scrunch it so that the indentation of what I'm leaving behind, the actual pattern is changing up a lot. So I do this quite frequently. The glaze will dry lighter than it appears moist, and it will take up to an hour to 3 hours to be completely dry. The overall climate condition in which you're working in will actually determine how fast or how slow your actual glaze finish will dry. This type of technique can apply not just to furnishings, but if you like to work with home decor or you like to go and thrift shop and you're looking for new ideas, the same principles can apply to all kinds of other fun ideas. The color schemes that you could create are endless based on the base color you want to use versus the decorative glaze and color mix that you want. Everything that I've applied to this dresser has been that ragging off technique. Now with ragging on, I'm just using the leftover rags that I still have, and all I'm going to do is just put straight glaze on and actually just dab it where I want to add more light texture as well as highlights to areas. So I'm going to kind of focus in on where the hardware will be just to highlight it even more with the glaze texture. So it makes it really versatile when you do it with the ragging on and then the ragging off. So this way, if there's areas that you want to play with more, or perhaps you want to have two different decorative glaze mix colors. So it really starts to become a lot of fun and interchangeable. If you by any chance have areas that you feel like you may have added too much glaze, you can always go back to that base color and just randomly stipple the base color around just to create more lowlights. And again, everything's always correctable. So with the degreasing dish soap, I used all of the hardware into a bucket and cleaned it really well. But I thought it might be fun just to add some highlights. Rather than replacing the hardware, a nice inexpensive way is to use the hardware that the piece already came with by adding a nice metal touch. You can use silver, gold, and in my case I wanted to use copper. What I love about gilding wax is you only need a little tiny bit and will go a long way. I generally apply it just with my finger, but you could also use a small artist's brush if you prefer. But all of these techniques are actually very inexpensive. And even the bottle of glaze, I've had the same bottle of glaze last me up to a year because you need so little of it, and it goes a long way. If you require extra durability for your furniture pieces, you could always use a polyurethane, or you could use clear furniture wax. Thank you so much for joining me in this week's video. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. I have so many more fun DIYs to share with you soon. Until then, take care.